Black Flag Activity Report, P.Sweeney. P.Sweeney had been out on bond out of Torrance, California. The bond company that we worked for out of California hired us to pick him up. Sweeney had an extensive criminal history, which included a 10-year prison stint, during which time Sweeney had joined a notoriously violent prison gang for white boys and had all the tattoos and record to prove it. Aside from his recreational use of fentanyl, he had checked in on time and adhered to the conditions of his release. However, when it came time for sentencing, he failed to show up to court. The bondsman that contacted us informed us of the situation and even had a current location of where they thought Sweeney and his girlfriend were staying, which was a trailer outside of Kingman, Arizona. This information was given to us by a family member of the younger girl who was with Sweeney. They were upset that she was with an older guy who was, in their minds, misleading her, and we couldn't disagree with that after hearing the story. Sweeney, who was in his mid-30s, had a girlfriend who was 18. Both he and her were strung out on fentanyl and were smoking in between 50 to 100 pills a day. We were informed that Sweeney owned a mid-80s model Ford truck, white in color, and if we saw it at the camper, he was most likely there with his younger girlfriend and 3 large dogs, one of which was known to be aggressive. It was the beginning of the summer and the temperatures were over 115 degrees. Arizona, man. We had also been informed that Sweeney liked guns and was known to have and carry them. In fact, one of the informants told us that Sweeney had recently been involved in a robbery where he had stolen 5 guns, including an expensive AR-15 made by Daniel Defense. Overrated if you ask us, but hey, it'll most likely still work even after being misused by dope heads. At the time, the 2 guys that were with me, however very qualified to do the work, were new to the job. Curly and Larry. Yes, we do have a Mo. It's important to understand a few things if you're considering getting into this line of work. First, no matter how much you prepare or the training you have, reaching a vehicle or home where the person on the other side is armed and dangerous will never be safe. Second, you never know how the person you are working with is going to respond to a high-stress situation until you have been through it multiple times with them. So when we are working with new people, we make sure they understand this. It's okay to be scared and even more okay to follow your gut, but there comes a time when you have to commit to the decision or action you have made, especially in the situation where it's a team of people who are committed and need you to do your job. So, commit if you decided to do something. That said, we rolled up to the trailer park where we had gotten the info where he was staying at, and we noticed that there was a white Ford truck with the same license plate that was sitting outside. It had a flat tire. Because of the flat tire, we were uncertain whether or not Sweeney was inside. After about 2 hours of surveillance is so critical. I can't stress that enough. Not only does it allow you time to watch your target, but it gives you time to game plan and run through scenarios, something our team is big on. We typically won't move ahead until everyone on our team knows their roles and exactly what we are going to do in the case that the situation changes. Surveillance is critical. We saw someone outside come out and smoke a cigarette. He had let a couple dogs out and fit the description of our guy to a T. When he went back inside the house, we decided to make our move. While doing surveillance, we had noticed that the camper had been hooked up to a generator. We decided that when we approached, we would disconnect the camper from the generator and see if that got them to come outside. They would definitely notice the AC not working and would most likely come out in a minute or 2 to fix it. We kept the generator running so as to not cause too much alarm. The generator was loud and we could use that. It would mask our sound of our footsteps while we got into position. We approached the camper, got into position, and disconnected the electric from the generator. Once we were in position, with 2 agents at the front of the camper and 1 in the rear, we noticed that the cab area was blocked off by a sheet. So if the driver's side door was open, we would not be able to see into the rest of the camper and would have to pull the sheet down in order to have a clear view of the rest of the area. This would expose us and possibly give Sweeney enough time to arm himself if he wanted to. So if the driver door was open, we would need to move quickly. The door was unlocked, so we made entry. Larry made entry first and pulled the sheet. Inside there was 2 dogs growling at us and a back room directly ahead of us. In that back room, we could see Sweeney and his young girlfriend embracing in what looked like a goodbye moment. We gave commands to Sweeney to come out with his hands up. He slowly complied and was asking us not to shoot his dogs. When he fully came out of the back room, Sweeney was frustrated and not wanting to comply. Sweeney told us to fuck ourselves, and I'll come out when I'm ready. After multiple commands and at gunpoint, Larry with the rifle, November with the pistol and bag gun at the ready, and Curly at security outside, we gave him this last opportunity to come out, literally telling him, last chance before I come in there and drag you out by your ears. Once he made it to the side door, we asked him to unlock it. Curly was on the outside of the door, and at this point pulled it open, put cuffs on him, and sat him on the ground next to the camper. We asked if there was anyone else in the camper, and both said no. November took over security outside, and Larry kept on the younger girlfriend and asked her to come outside as well. When she was secured, Larry walked the rest of the unit to make sure we were safe. We walked Sweeney over to the transport vehicle and put shackles on him. Transported him back to California, where there was California agents waiting for him. Sweeney was a smart guy. You see, during transport, once we were far enough away from his girlfriend, their dogs, the camper, and the stolen firearms, Sweeney started talking to us. He started by informing us that under the passenger seat of the camper was a fully operational, belt-fed 30 caliber machine gun, which had been stolen from a military base. He offered the machine gun to us in exchange for $500 on his books. He said that his girlfriend had already moved the camper, an agreement that they had in place in case he had been arrested. She was to immediately move the camper and guns to one of their friends' place in the area. Sweeney said that the machine gun was set up, and if he wanted to, he could have lit us up. That seemed like a little bit of vengeful thinking, but the machine gun was pointed in the direction of where we had to walk up when we approached. If he had been on one and had seen us in time, the outcome could have been much different. Sweeney, knowing that he had his girlfriend and the dogs in that tin box of a camper, most likely would have thought twice about it, knowing that we would have returned fire. But you never know. We let him go on so we could get the information from him, but at one point had to shut him down and told him that we simply was not an option. We were not going to buy his stolen machine gun, or any of the weapons for that matter of fact, and finish the ride to California. Sweeney was dropped off with California agents and we went back to Phoenix. The FBI contacted the bondsman shortly after we brought him into custody. Apparently they had been listening in on his phone conversations while he was in jail and were alerted to the detail of Sweeney trying to sell a 30 caliber machine gun to other people. The FBI already had Sweeney on their radar due to his involvement in several stolen firearms cases and were actively tracking his connections to find any information to those stolen weapons, quite specifically a belt-fed 30 cal machine gun that had been stolen from a military base. We informed them we did not take it or buy any stolen guns from him. We also could not verify any of the other firearms that were in the trailer and explained that we do not search people's homes after apprehending them. Our main objective is to secure our person and leave as soon as possible. If we were searching people's homes, that would be suspect and would leave us open to accusations around theft and misusing our authority. Sweeney is currently in jail and serving out a 15-year sentence in a California prison.